Member for Edmonton St. Albert, and I should say ahead of time I will have to interrupt him at 7:30.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it's really an honour and a pleasure for me to rise and speak in favour of Bill C-304, an act to amend the Human Rights Code. Madam Speaker, certainly freedom of speech is a fundamental right that's enjoyed in all free and democratic societies. And I've listened very carefully to the two members, or now the three members opposite, who have expressed concern about my friend's bill, the sponsor from Westlock St. Paul. And parliamentarians, as you know, Madam Speaker, enjoy unfettered freedom of speech. In fact, Parliament is derived, as you know, from the French word parler, meaning to speak. And in this chamber and in its committees, we parliamentarians and any witnesses who appear before those committees have unfettered freedom of speech. And it seems to me somewhat hypocritical that we would not offer to society, to people who write, and with respect to blogs and websites and the internet, which falls under federal regulation, the same rights and privileges that we here enjoy in the Parliament of Canada. Excellent. And to my friend from Mount Royal, who I have a great deal of respect for, who talked that there are limits to freedom of speech. He is correct. There are limits to freedom of speech. But, Madam Speaker, no doubt you are aware that there are already workable remedies and workable limits with respect to freedom of speech. There are laws against perjury. There are the torts of libel and slander. And of course, and most importantly and most germane to this debate, there is Section 318 to 320 of the Criminal Code. And those are real hate speech protections, Madam Speaker. And there must be a distinction drawn between hate speech and hurt speech, or the so-called counterfeit right of hurt feelings. One does not have a right against having their feelings hurt. I'm sorry, that is not a right that exists in common law. It's not a right that exists in free and democratic societies. The criminal code sanctions regarding free speech, as found in Section 318 to 320, require something more than hurt feelings. They require real and actionable hatred. If you advocate genocide, if you advocate destruction of a group's property, if you advocate harm or damage to the person of that individual or group, then you have fallen offside the hate provisions of the Criminal Code. And I would submit, Madam Speaker, rightfully so. But that is something quite different than the so-called freedom not to be offended, or what my friend refers to as hurt speech. Free speech, if it is to exist, cannot be subject to some bureaucracy. There is no such thing as government-regulated free speech. Either there is free speech or there isn't. And, Madam Speaker, it is the very offensive speech that requires legal protection. This debate probably would not be occurring if there weren't situations where individuals who had said things that were truly politically correct, offensive and sometimes abhorrently so, but individuals have attempted to avail themselves to the Charter-protected rights in Section 2B of freedom of expression. But I would submit to you, Madam Speaker, and to all members of the House, that it is that very offensive speech that requires protection. Because everything in life, everything that is provocative, is controversial. If we're to get into an intelligent debate about religion, about Christianity versus Islamicism, or abortion, or gay rights, or even climate change, it's impossible, Madam Speaker, to have a thorough and meaningful debate without running the risk of offending somebody somewhere along that process. So a free society requires freedom of speech so that we can have a fluid marketplace of ideas, so that we can have give and take and exchange. And some of the ideas in that marketplace of ideas won't be popular, and they won't be politically correct. But they are important to further the debate, and society has actually moved forward over time because of freedom of speech. Some things that were politically incorrect in their time, for example, hundreds of years ago when Galileo opined that the world was round, I mean, that was thought of as heresy at the time. But he said it, and people debated it, and they argued it, and eventually they proved it. So it is because of the very freedom of speech that we that we're fighting for today by repealing Section 13 of the Human Rights Code, that society can advance itself with respect to enlightenment and with respect to determining truths that may not appear truth at the present time. So the very Human Rights Commission that...
Order, please. The honourable member will have about 5 minutes when this bill returns on the order paper. Regret to interrupt him.